Gentlemen and ladies, it is time for some new Big Tuna content. Today we have some unfortunate class tunings coming this Tuesday, December 20th, towards our beloved Enhancement Shaman. Yes, I know, you hear unfortunate news, you want to flip out, just calm down, control your emotions, brace yourselves, open up your minds, and let's have a good discussion here. So you scroll down here and you see some numbers that aren't looking too hot in your eyes. So let's just read the bulletins, let's read what Blizzard has to say, and then we'll kind of go into a discussion about whether this is good, whether it's bad, and what this means overall. So first we have a little buff towards Healing Stream Totem. Healing Stream Totem healing increased by 15% in PvP combat. Interesting. It's interesting. Not good or bad, just interesting. Now let's go to Enhancement Shaman. Oh boy. Reduce the damage of Elemental Blast by 15% in PvP combat. Okay, rough one. Let's scroll down. Primordial Wave causes your next lightning bolt to hit all targets of Flame Shock for 75% of normal damage. For enhancement only in PvP combat was 150%, pretty much cutting the damage in half. Now let's read what the developer's note is. Blizzard is getting a really good job at saying the reasonings for why certain nerfs and buffs are happening. So kudos to Blizzard. You always gotta, if you're gonna hate on Blizzard, then you have to give kudos to where kudos are really needed. So let's read here. We've continued to see Elemental Blast be too bursty in PvP for both Enhancement and Elemental. Elemental got nerfed too, the same amount. Additionally, Lightning Bolt burst with Primordial Wave for Enhancement was dealing more burst than desired, so we're bringing down the value of Primordial Wave so that Lightning Bolt on its own can continue to shine. For Restoration, we're targeting buffs to instant cast spells for improved survivability. Riptide healing increased by 15%. That does nothing because Riptide is the problem and the only good thing about Restoration. It's an interesting ability for Restoration Shaman, but this does nothing, by the way. So we understand, we know these nerfs are coming. We have a bit of info on why they nerfed it. But what does this actually mean? So if you're wondering why Elemental Blast is nerfed, its main reason being that Elemental Blast is still hitting pretty damn hard. Comparatively to a lot of other classes spenders towards, specifically classes that have big bursty spenders. So let's say Chaos Bolt and like Templar's Verdict, or Justicar's Vengeance, whatever you're running. Classes like that have spenders like that. Elemental Blast is kind of just working that to the moon. So Elemental Blast, even nowadays, even after the nerfs to your Maelstrom weapon a couple weeks ago, is still hitting for upwards to 200k. It's pretty gnarly. How are they doing this? It's mostly due to having a lot of crit and running Skyfury Totem, more spell heavy build with crit, Skyfury Totem. You do the math, crit, obviously you get those big numbers, you get those big crits, you're going to do a lot of damage. So they're trying to balance this out by nerfing the actual damage of Elemental Blast by 15%. So good thing they're not targeting the actual Maelstrom this time, they're just targeting the actual individual abilities. Now, the Primordial Wave Lightning Bolt nerf is kind of the interesting one. Primordial Wave was, after the nerf, it didn't really do as much damage as it did before, but I guess in Blizzard's eyes, an ability like Primordial Wave on a 45-second cooldown doing pretty remarkable damage, I guess was just something that they didn't really want to see, so they pretty much just cut the ability in half. I would have gone for like 100% of normal damage instead of 75%, but we'll see. It's 75%. On paper, it definitely does sound not as great as 150%. Probably like 100% is where I was looking at in terms of a nerf, but we'll see how that plays out. Same thing with the nerf to Elemental Blast. So what does this mean? Is enhancement going to be garbage? Is your spell build, your Lava Lash kind of spell build, going to be nerfed? Like, we're going to have to re-roll? What does this mean? To me, it means nothing. Why to me it means nothing? Because I run a different build, a Storm Strike build, of basically just full setting into pure physical damage. And you've seen that on my videos before, and a lot of Enhancement Shamans don't run this. Again, a lot of Enhancement Shamans just run your average spell build, your average big Elemental Blast build. Why? Because it's easy damage. Everybody likes seeing big numbers. Everybody likes seeing big crits. Just like everybody else. So seeing those big Elemental Blast crits is what really kind of a lot of these enhancement shamans desired. They didn't really give a fuck about 30% increased damage to Storm Strike. But smart people like me, aka the World Shaman, I care about that because that opens new windows and opens new builds and opens more value. So I run a Storm Strike build. You can see it right here. It's literally on the screen, and of course, it's always in my description. But I run a pure physical build. So this Elemental Blast and Lightning Bolt nerf, or sorry, Primordial Wave Lightning Bolt nerf doesn't really affect me at all. Now, of course, Elemental Blast is like the main primary one because Elemental Blast, no matter what build you're running, is your core spender. Because Lightning Bolt is like Lightning Bolt, which is kind of funny that they say this. Bringing down the value of Primordial Wave so that Lightning Bolt on its own can continue to shine. That doesn't make any sense because Lightning Bolt on its own, it does like average damage, like 40k, like that's not bad, but like it's like why would you ever use Lightning Bolt when you can use Elemental Blast? Which is why I love and hate Elemental Blast because it just overshadows Lightning Bolt completely. So it makes Lightning Bolt pretty much close to useless because you have 2 charges of Elemental Blast, or you're never really not going to have a charge of Ele Blast, which is, you know, unfortunate that Lightning Bolt is just such a, it's in the back collecting dust bunnies. Like it's, you know, it's not that great. So, you know, the Elemental Blast 15% nerf is kind of the interesting part. Now, if you are still going to run your spell build, that your buff from your feral spirits, no matter what spirits you get, or your elemental spirits, no matter what wolves you get, obviously it's still going to be 40% increased damage to your elemental blast because your elemental blast is all spell schools. It's an elemental spell school. So your wolves will, and since you constantly have wolves up, you're gonna hopefully that those wolves are gonna, you know, even out and kind of smooth out that 15% nerf, and hopefully it won't be too noticeable. But you know what? Well, again, something we have to see this Tuesday. So, yeah, it is concerning. The Primordial Wave Lightning Bolt 1 is the one that I just don't really care for because Lightning Bolt itself didn't really do that much damage, and Primordial Wave, it still did good damage, but I mean, I was looking for something like 100% if they were looking to nerf it, but 75% just straight up cutting it in half, even though Primordial Wave itself was still just outshadowed by Elemental Blast. Cutting that damage in half. Interesting, but like I said, I guess Blizzard just didn't really like seeing an ability 45-second cooldown, very short cooldown, doing a pretty significant amount of damage. So I guess they just kind of wanted to reduce that in half. But 100% is really what I was looking for. I think that was a sweet spot. But 75%, you know what? Hopefully it's still good, but we'll have to wait and see. So what does this mean? Is this going to be bad? Don't really think so. I think you can still run your spell build, and if you don't, then you're gonna have to focus more into Storm Strike heavy talents, which again I run Storm Strike pure physical build, and that's my current build. That's my build I use for all types of PvP, for arenas, solo shuffle arena, 3v3, 2v2. That's what I use because it just has the most value. The reason why I never liked the spell build, not never liked, but the reason why I just don't particularly like it right now is because it's just it's a one-way ticket. If you're not getting those big crits, you're not going to do that much damage. You're still going to do good damage, but the main build relies around big crits. And Enhancement Shaman never really relied on big crits. It was always just kind of like steady damage. You never really had like moments where your damage would spike up randomly or unexpectedly. So for Enhancement to focus on crits, especially when you're not a class that just benefits from crit, like let's say a Destro Lock or an Elemental Shaman, was kind of interesting, which is why I never really liked that build. So I obviously opted for more Storm Strike builds and more Storm Strike damage, and that build is just far better than your spell build because everything ties together to your Maelstrom generation, to the amount of Storm Strike you get off, to the amount of resets you get on that Storm Strikes, to the amount of procs you get with Ascendance, your Legacy of the Frost Witch, constantly, you know, getting your wolves out even faster than any build you can think of with Enhancement Shaman. You know, I love that build because it has so much value, because it's not a one-way ticket like your spell build. It's a pretty much a loop-de-loop. It's a full circle because everything ties together and everything works together, which is why that build is so potent. Now, hopefully people can come to light of that, because a lot of people still don't really understand the Storm Strike build. I mean, that's most of my comments nowadays is, hey, I see you're running a physical build, is this better than a blast build? Or, hey, I'm currently running a blast build, I have a lot of fun on it, is the physical build better? Stuff like that, and even people who ask like, hey, what build is best for solo shuffles, I'll tell them, or like arena, I'll tell them that, what, your blast build is better, just because it's easy damage. It's easy damage to get out. You find that balance between your haste and your crit, and boom, you kind of, you're gonna do pretty well. But I'll always tell them and give them pretty detailed, information about the Storm Strike build and just how much value it is, and just see if they can see what I'm seeing and what I'm doing, what I'm thinking of. So, hopefully this will kind of bring more value to Storm Strike, because again, like, it's not that Blizzard buffed Storm Strike by 30% just for people to not focus on Storm Strike. Like, no, they wanted you to, find the value in Storm Strike, but yet, people just still opted for Blast build because, zug brain, they want to see big numbers. Who doesn't want to see big numbers? So it's good, it's bad. You be the judge of it. I'm the World Shaman, so whatever I say goes, and I say this is a pretty fair change, I would say. So that's my final thoughts. Again, they're both concerning in their own rights for certain scenarios, but do I really think it's going to be that big of an issue? Most likely not. Primordial Wave, again, was already getting outshined by Elemental Blast, so it's like nerfing that even more. It's just like, okay, there was nothing really valuable in that tree of Primordial Wave other than getting 10 Maelstrom stacks with, by casting Primordial Wave, which just, again, easy setup damage, but like, was that really high value? No. So now I can put those points into, maybe going into like Elemental Assault or Legacy of the Frost Witch to kind of get a bit of a smoother rotation. So yeah, and then just by default damage reduction to Elemental Blast. Again, hopefully your Elemental Spirits will kind of edge out that damage nerf, but we'll see. We'll see if 15% is really gonna kind of put that in a decent spot, or maybe kill that ability. So I don't know. But guys, that was the video, and who knows? Maybe this will even, if 15% is really that much, then who knows? Maybe this will make Lava Burst, like the actual ability Lava Burst, worth running and not take Elemental Blast. Who knows? All right, 50%. It can go both ways. But guys, that was the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Links in the description if you want to see more of Big Tuna. And if you're feeling generous today, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe with notifications on, because I upload every single day at 3 p.m. And of course, I am posting more on my community tab, so make sure to check out what I'm cooking up there. And guys, hopefully you guys have an amazing day, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next life. Peace.